On a warm summer morning, when the streets were already alive with the hum of traffic and the sun cast soft golden light across the small American town of Riverbend, a boy named Toby Marsh crouched beside the diner's back door, waiting for the scent that had become his lifeline. Most people walked past him without noticing, assuming he was simply resting or waiting for someone. But in reality, Toby waited because hunger had a way of forcing routine upon a child. Every day, he arrived before the diner even opened, sitting quietly on the concrete ground, hoping no one would chase him away. His ribs showed beneath his shirt, his hair was unwashed, and his small hands bore the calluses of a child who had lived too long with responsibilities no child should know. If you're watching this and you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small good deeds, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Inside the diner, Clara Winslow, the middle-aged owner, noticed the boy through the kitchen window. She had seen him too many times to pretend he wasn't there. Clara wasn't wealthy, and the diner barely made enough to keep its doors open, but she had a heart larger than her wallet. Every morning, she quietly packed an extra breakfast plate, eggs, toast, and a little fruit, and carried it outside. She always placed it next to Toby without making a scene, as if offering food to a stray bird. Toby would lift his tired eyes, whisper a thank you so soft it barely carried through the air, and then eat like someone who wasn't sure when his next meal would come. The whole town seemed to forget Toby existed, except Clara. Toby's mother had left years before, and his father had spiraled into unemployment, drinking, and disappearing for days at a time. At just 9 years old, Toby collected scrap metal, washed car windows, and did odd jobs hoping to make enough money for small necessities. He never begged, he simply survived. The diner became his shelter, not physically. Clara never invited him inside because she worried about drawing attention from the town authorities, who might separate him from his remaining parent, but emotionally. It was the only place where he was seen, where kindness found him. The smell of frying onions, coffee brewing, and plates clinking together became familiar enough to feel like home. Then came the day everything changed. Around late morning, as sunlight spilled brightly across Riverbend and the heat pressed against the sidewalks, a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of the diner. The door swung open and out stepped a man the town rarely saw. His name was Harrison Vale, a young millionaire who had built a tech company in the next city over. Known for his quiet generosity, Harrison had returned to Riverbend to revisit the place where his late mother once lived. The townsfolk whispered about him occasionally, but no one expected him to drop by a small, struggling diner like Clara's. Harrison walked in wearing simple clothes despite his wealth, khaki shorts, a clean polo, and a watch worth more than the diner itself. He ordered lunch, took a seat by the window, and looked out at the street as if searching for a memory. That's when he saw the boy. Toby was sitting in his usual spot outside, rinsing metal bowls he had collected from a nearby scrap yard. There was a small bucket of water beside him and a worn towel laid across his knee. His face was streaked with dirt, and yet his eyes, pale blue and tired but determined, held a strange mixture of hunger and hope. Something about the scene tugged deeply at Harrison, something familiar, something painful. He remembered being 8 years old, standing outside the same diner with shoes that didn't fit and a stomach that growled so loudly he thought people might hear it. His mother would slip him half her sandwich while pretending she'd already eaten. Harrison's success had erased the outward signs of that childhood, but the memories still lived in him like shadows that never left. He watched as Clara stepped outside and placed a plate next to Toby. The boy's face brightened with quiet gratitude, the kind born only from repeated hardship. Harrison felt something shift inside him. He couldn't leave, not after seeing that. He stepped outside and quietly approached Clara, who looked startled to see him speaking to her. She wiped her hands on her apron, unsure if he was coming to complain or ask a question. But Harrison only asked about the boy, who he was, where he came from, why he was alone. Clara hesitated at first, unsure whether she should share Toby's story, but something in Harrison's tone, the sincerity, the gentleness, made her speak. She told him everything she knew. Harrison listened without interrupting, his gaze drifting repeatedly toward the boy who was still methodically scrubbing metal bowls as if his life depended on it. Later that day, when Toby had finished eating and had gathered his small collection of belongings, Harrison approached him gently. The boy flinched, not out of fear, but habit. Toby had learned that men rarely approach children like him with kindness. Harrison didn't ask questions. He didn't offer pity. He just asked if Toby would allow him to walk with him for a while, and Toby nodded, still unsure. As they walked through the neighborhood, Harrison quietly observed the crumbling houses, the broken fences, the emptiness that surrounded the boy's world. It was a world he recognized, a world he had escaped but never forgotten. That evening, Harrison made a promise to himself that he would not walk away from Toby's life. He met with local authorities, explained the boy's situation, and offered to become his temporary guardian while ensuring Toby's father received help. It took time, paperwork, and heartfelt determination, but eventually, Harrison succeeded. There were challenges. Toby had trust issues, nightmares, fear of abandonment, but Harrison showed up every day. He made sure Toby attended school, saw doctors, ate full meals, and slept in a warm bed. He did more than feed him, he gave him a life he didn't know was possible. Clara cried the first time she saw Toby wearing clean clothes, holding a new backpack, and smiling without fear. By the following summer, Toby looked like a different child, stronger, healthier, brighter. He would visit the diner with Harrison, sitting at the counter like any other kid, ordering pancakes with syrup dripping down the sides. He still remembered the days he sat outside, hungry and invisible, but now he knew those days were behind him. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to Kindness Corner. Your engagement helps spread messages of hope and compassion. Before we end, here's a special request: comment below with one thing you're grateful for today. Because sometimes, a single act of kindness can change an entire life, just like it changed Toby's.